Peace and blessings, family. This is Jakim from the Hard Talk with Jakim. Yes, the truth sayer, the free thinker, the knucklehead slayer. Listen, we're getting ready to have an exciting episode of the Hard Talk with Jakim coming at you right now. Hello. This is Jakim from the Hard Talk with Jakim. Listen, we're excited to be back on 190 on Comcast 190 here in Delaware in Newcastle County. Yes, we're excited to be back on here, and we're excited to give you back some information. Look, let me just take care of some housekeeping first. If you don't know, we're on Facebook. The Hard Talk with Jakim has a Facebook page. Also, DIN Media Studios also has a Facebook page. You can find out some great information there. You can find out some information on The Real Talk with Yolanda, The Hard Talk with Jakim, Out and About with Josie Roy, The Mind Matters with Miss Ruth Baker. You can just find out information that you need right there on Facebook. Now, we also have our YouTube page. So if you do not catch us on television on our air times, which is 2 p.m. every second Sunday on Comcast 190. If you don't catch us there, I want you to subscribe to our YouTube page, which is Delaware Info Now. That's Delaware Info Now. You can subscribe there. You can check out some past videos. You can check out some other stuff. It's fantastic. I recommend it, but I'm biased. So go to Delaware Info Now on the YouTube page. And if you just want to keep up with my daily information that we usually give to people, you can check me out on Instagram at The Real Jakim, or Twitter, or Twitter, Instagram, The Real Jakim. Just check me out there. All right, so let's get into it. We did the housekeeping. We've had our president as contracted COVID. That was last week, and they're already doing the spin on how they're going to spin it. This is important to us because this election is important. Now, for Black folks in Delaware and around the country, and let me give a big shout out to Tennessee. I was out in Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. Love Tennessee. Memphis, big shout out to Memphis. Black folks around this country and around the world, let me just show y'all some of the ways that they do some of those things that they do to all of us. They spin. Just like anybody else, they spin. They spin the story. So, yes, it was a hoax back in March. It was a hoax and part of fake media and fake news back in June and April and August. And now he actually contracted it. What can we say? All right. Enough about Donald Trump. I don't really talk a lot. And let me just tell you the reason why. I don't really talk a lot about Donald Trump on the Real Talk, either whether I'm on the Hard Talk or I'm guessing on the Real Talk with Yolanda. I don't talk about Donald Trump a lot because we get distracted by things that we say, okay, it's it's a 30,000 feet national thing. And yet a lot of the nitty gritty, grimy, disgusting, messy stuff is happening in your local politics. And that brings me up to a great thing here. In local politics and in politics in general, you've got to follow the money. I say that because in this campaign in 2020, in 2018, in 2016, in 2012, a lot of us did not follow the money. I know I was aware of it, and I was only aware of it because somebody else made me aware of it. But you got to follow the money. If you follow the money, you will find who is doing the controlling. Who is actually controlling? And let me just say this. D's, R's, I's, and everything in between. So if you don't know what I'm talking about Democrats, Republican, independents, and everything that's in between. You got to follow the money to know who's in charge. It's just like in your own household. Whoever's bringing in the money makes the rules. Am I right or wrong? I don't care what place you at. And my mama used to tell my sister all the time, watch when guys give you gifts. Watch those people that give you gifts and don't even know you that quick because they want something from you. Follow the money. That's the same. What's true for the big is true for the small. Just like us. Whether you have an organization that is trying to do good in the neighborhood, and you see a lot of politicians give to that organizations, they also telling them, be quiet during election year. Be quiet. I don't want to hear you talk negative about me. I gave you a little $2,000, $3,000 for your little party. That's another thing. I won't even get on it. Why in the world, for black folks, they always want to give us some money to do parties? You know how that goes. But let's get on. Let me get back to this. If someone gives you money, and big money, we're talking about big money, and campaign finance is big money. When I start seeing a state rep got $30,000 or a state senator got over $50,000 in their campaign war chest in Delaware. Now, the rest of the country, if you're watching us in Kansas, you're watching us in Georgia, I don't know what's going on in the rest of the country. The places that I can tell you about that I know specifically is about New York City and Delaware, specifically Newcastle. So let me just say this. When you start seeing local politicians grasping all of that money, you know the fix is in. It's a rigged system. It's getting ready to get ugly. That's what that means. And I need all of us to start following that. Well, we've got some great people here in Delaware that are making sure and keeping abreast of that, like DELCOG, the Delaware Coalition for Open Government and stuff like that. Those organizations that's out there, I give you a right to stand right. You're absolutely right. The campaign finance, you got to watch it. You got to see who's giving that money. You got to see who's trying to control your vote. So I'm going to say this real quick to y'all. This is an important for you to go out there and vote. Now, Jakim ain't telling you who to vote for. Jakim is leaving it up to your wise decisions to vote for the right people. And I'm not just telling you that because I want you to vote or a D or an R and I or whatever. I'm telling you, vote for people who going to do stuff for your community. Vote for people who will not relax their demands for equity, fairness, and justice. There are people out there that claim to be civil rights and claim to be community activists. As soon as they get into office, they turn into turncoats. Well, you ain't do your homework. They didn't just turn that way. They were always that way. But you listen to Junebug down the block who said, that guy's my cousin. That guy's a friend of ours. He's related by third cousin of another cousin of another cousin of another cousin. Don't do that anymore. Black folks, you can't be doing that. White folks, you can't be doing that either. I'm telling you right now, it does not matter who you know or who you think you know. When they get into that office, they relax their demands. It's the beast. Not everybody. I ain't going to say everybody. And I'm going to just give a shout out to AOC and the squad, because AOC and the squad haven't relaxed their demands, and I love that. There's a lot of politicians out there I like. There's a lot of elected officials I like. And there's a tons of them I cannot stand. And let me just say this, and I was on the 13 bus. That's the 13 bus in Newcastle. If you know, it goes from Wilton all the way to Tri-State Mall. I was on the 13 bus, and the guy got into a conversation with me. He said, "I know you. You're Muhammad." I said, "Yes, okay, brother. Yes," because I can't remember the first name. But I said, "Yes, brother. How are you doing?" He said, "Yeah, man, I voted for you when you ran." I said, "Okay, I got you." He said, "Yo, tell me, why is this person like this? Or this person is like that?" And I said, "Well, listen, it's in their nature. Money don't make you bad. It amplifies what's already there." Let me say that. I want you to remember that. I remember listening to Reverend Ike, and some of us are old enough to remember Reverend Ike. And Reverend Ike used to always talk about money, 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 how you got to get the blessings of God and how you need to be. And God didn't ask you to be poor, and God don't want you to be poor, and God don't want you to. And Reverend Ike was absolutely right on it. I didn't understand it at the time. But when I got into my 20s, 30s in law enforcement, I understood what he was trying to say. And what he was trying to say was the same thing everybody was trying to say. In the United States and around the world, you do not have power if you have no economic power, and if you don't wield that economic power. So going back to what the young man said to me on the 13 bus, I said, well, you know, a lot of people who are going out for office, let's see, you used to be middle class and rich only, but a lot of them are working stiffs. And I dare to say poor. And they're doing it for the right reason, a lot of them. But then you have the other ones that just want to get a job. You know those ones. You've seen them before. Every time you turn around, they're running for an office. What, are you looking for a job? Because the community is not saying run. That's all the poli-sci majors. And big ups, if you're in college right now and you're in political science and you're trying to get a political science degree, big ups, my heart goes out to you. I went to college for political science too, believe me. But I get tired of playing with intellectual gymnastics with so-called political pundits that are poli-sci majors. They know everything, but couldn't predict the loss of Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump. But I digress. Let me just say this. The political picture in Delaware is a lot like the political picture in Youngstown. Doesn't matter where you could be looking at us in East St. Louis, Illinois, or another fantastic town that I love down the block, Philadelphia. You could be looking at us in Philadelphia. Chester, love that place. PA. But let me just say this. It's the same. You know, in the movie Hoffa, they said, never vote. I think Jimmy Hoffa said it. In it, never vote for a rich man's son. There's a reason why. Because usually they're already bought and paid for. But poor people get bought and paid for too. Believe you me, you can be from the projects. You could be from the ghetto. And if they never had money before, it's enticing to get a campaign donation like that. So I'm going to end this part with follow the money. Follow the money. I want everybody to understand that. When I come back, I'm going to talk a little bit about why politicians, especially incumbents, don't want to debate people during the primaries. I'll see you on the other side.
YSM Insurance. Let us help to put the pieces together. Have you been thinking about Medicare insurance coverage? Life is full of important decisions, but you don't have to make this one alone. YSM Insurance. We would be happy to meet with you one-on-one to discuss your needs. Please contact us at 302-229-6376. YSM Insurance for your Medicare options.
Hey, welcome back. This is Jakim for the Hard Talk with Jakim. I told you I was going to talk about politicians and why they fear and why they never want to do debates with their primary opponents. Let me just give you a little bit of things. We all know the reason why they don't want to do the debates with the primary opponents, because they don't want to give ammunition to the Republican or the independent or whoever's going to run against them in the general election. Let me tell you something. That's poppycock. That's garbage. That's a cockamamie excuse. Let me tell you the real reason why they don't want to do it. Because they don't want you as a voter to have a choice. They don't want you as a voter to have a say. They don't want you as a voter to be intelligent, free thinker. And that's what we're all about here. Free thinking individual. A politician who fears a public debates on an issue is doing something wrong. Let me just say that again. A politician who fears public debate on the issues or any issue is doing something wrong. Look into it. Find out what it is. Usually, you can't hide it. Usually, it's right over under the surface, not that far. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. An incumbent who won't debate their primary opponent, won't debate the primary opponents, does not get my vote. You hear me? I don't care. The general election is a beast in itself. But I'm going to be real clear and I want you to be real clear and real forthright with this information. Don't vote for a person who will not debate a primary opponent. They're doing you dirty. They're being grimy. They're hiding something. As far as I'm concerned, if you won't debate your primary opponent and then a month later for the general election, you want to have a debate with a Republican or a Democrat, that shows that you got no integrity. That primary opponent spent money to get in that race against you. Spent a lot more money than you probably did because, you got them incumbents be getting all that handout money from this industry, that industry, whoever. I don't, like to use those. I don't like to use those Washington words, but we will say lobbyists, PACs, or whatever. That's probably what's going on. So I will tell you real quick. If you do not debate any of your primary opponents who spent money, they have to spend money in the Democratic Party, they have to spend money in the Republican Party. I don't know about the independents. I don't know what they do there. You got a lot of good people. But if they spent good money, the least you can do is debate them on the issue so the voters can have a choice. Because think about it. It's really during the primary that you actually have a choice. The rest of it, it's already written. It's either going to be D's or R's in Delaware for the most part, and other states are a little bit different. If they do primary debates and in the presidential elections, why not for county, mayor, insurance commissioner, all the other lieutenant governor? Why not for those? Why do you think those local elected officials are even better than presidential primary opponents? Think about it. Why are we getting those, but we can't get these? These people affect your lives even more than the federal or national. So think about that next time on November 3rd, when you pull that lever down or press that button down. Now we don't have the levers, press the button. Think about that person. Say, was this guy or this gal a real integrity stand-up person to give fair shot for the people? Look, I'm not voting for anybody. And I'm going to tell you real quickly. If you did not want to debate anybody, and with governor, lieutenant governor, county exec, new cap, I don't care what it is. If you didn't want to debate anybody in the primary and you had a primary opponent, you can forget about it with Jakim. All right, so this is the reason why I'm telling you this also. I want all of us free thinkers to push back on this stuff. I want you now to understand that when we went through this COVID, the reason why we're going through COVID, it's ordained. It's to show you the indecent, injustice, and inequities that are going on in your community. That's why this thing is here. And it is showing you this. Believe you me, it's showing you this. If there are, this no longer will happen that we should be shortchanging our voters. We should be shortchanging our citizens. Those days should be over. And I'm calling out all that. And let me just call out somebody else. I don't want to sound like Donald Trump or anybody else, but fake news is real. Stupid news is real. I want you to understand this. The media has a responsibility to say, if an incumbent doesn't want to debate somebody, we need to call him out. We need to call her out. What has the media been doing? For years in Delaware, the media has been letting these people get away with it. You know why? Because they advertise on their radio show. They advertise in their newspapers. They advertise on their televisions. They advertise on that stuff. That's the reason why. But we, as free thinkers, need to make and push back on it. Need to make sure that they don't get away with that. All right, so the last thing I have for our show today, and we talked about a lot of good things. It's always great to come out here Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon, actually, and come and talk to you. Now, I would like to go back to something that happened a couple of months back. If you remember, there was a lady walking a dog in Central Park in New York City. Her name was Amy Cooper. And she was walking the dog, and it wasn't supposed to be walked in that place, and the dog wasn't supposed to be on a leash, and yada, yada, bing, da, bang, da, boom. I'll give you the Jerry Seinfeld thing. So a black man told her, you ain't supposed to be there. Well, the first thing she'd do is get on the phone and call the cops and start straight up lying. Straight up, with no chaser. Just lying on the phone in order for this black man to be beaten down by the cops, to be arrested by the cops, to be put in his place by the cops. Let's call it what it is. Now, this is very important for you to understand. And this is for some of my liberal friends. Because I consider myself a progressive, conservative, whatever, oxymoron, whatever you want to call it, whatever labels you want to put, you want to box people in. I'm for justice and equality and equity. I don't care about your labels. Really don't. I've had people say I'm liberal. I said, okay, I'm all right with that. I had people say I'm conservative. I said, okay, I'm all right with that. I had people say I'm progressive. I said, okay, I'm right with that. I have no problem with it. But I do have a problem with this. People who give to Hillary Clinton in 2016 or give to the Democratic cause all the time and always stands up and say, race don't matter to me, color don't matter to me, I don't care about that stuff, it's who you are that matters. But yet, gets on the phone and says, hello, this guy's harassing me, this guy's threatening my life, this guy's doing all that stuff and blah, 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 blah. And know that that was an outright lie just to get this guy put in his place. I've seen those people before, and you've seen them too. You probably even had those people in your own household. They were your neighbors. They were your teachers in high school. That was the teacher, the most liberal teacher you ever had. But soon as the chips came down, they might have slipped and called you an N-word. They might have slipped and said, yo, people. They might have said those things to you. And you said to yourself, wow, I didn't know Mr. Alverson was like that. Well, you know, this racist thing is powerful. And it injects itself in all aspects of life. Look, America's original sin is slavery. Jim Crow laws, redlining, and all manners of oppression. That's America's original sin. All manners of oppression. All manners of exploitation. That's the original sin of America. Now, we could be the land of milk and honey. We could be all those things on paper. But in the real world, in the realest sense, and you know, I hate that when people say realist. I like, what planet you're on? But in the real world, we know that discrimination by neglect, oppression, and exploitation is wrong. And Amy Cooper, this young lady, felt that it was time for her, because a black man told her to follow the rules. He didn't tell her anything wrong. He said, follow the rules. And she decided to call the cops and get his black butt beat down. This tells you something. It's very telling. It's very telling in when people tell me, oh, Jakim, why you don't be with that organization? Or why 9 times out of 10, I can't be with them because they doing black supplication. They're on their knees, and even though they're a black organization, they don't control the purse strings, so they always got to beg and do the bidding of those who give them money. That's why I don't join a lot of organizations. I ain't got to call them out. You see them. You know them in your own neighborhood. We may have to do something about that. But let me just say this. Back to Amy Cooper. Privilege is when you think something is not a problem because it's not a problem to you personally. That's what privilege is. You think it's not a problem because it's not a problem to you. She thought that her privilege, and let me just go on there, her privilege allowed her to never be questioned by a black man. Now, I got issues with him too, because again, he came out, he came out, I think she should, oh, kumbaya, we should be, but I got, and that's a different topic. I mean, because I laugh at these cats, man, these sellouts, and big ups. I laugh at that, but I will say this. Her privilege that she felt that she had, even though she gave to Democratic causes and liberal causes, all comes back from that educational system that we got here in the United States that gave you all this false information about some of our founding fathers, or didn't give you the right information. The full picture may have given you information about people who invented stuff and chose to leave out other people who were of a different hue. And then they get into the real world. They get into their Wall Street jobs or their corporate jobs or whatever jobs they have. And they keep listening to the same old people that say, them people, those people, that group. That's what happens. It affects every one of us. So, can you be an Amy Cooper and be a liberal? Hell yes. Can you be an Amy Cooper and consider yourself progressive? Yes. So what we need you to do is go check yourself. I think a brother had it back in the days. He said, you need a checkup from the neck up. This has been your man, Jakim Muhammad, with the Hard Talk with Jakim. Listen, get out there and vote November 3rd. Make sure you vote for people that have integrity, and I'll see you on the other side.